We are calling Parks and Environmental Committee to order on February the 23rd at 9:02 a.m. And could you, calling it to order, could we please have roll call?
Alderman Vaccaro,
Present.
Alderwoman Tyus, Alderwoman Martin, Alderman Todd,
Present.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard,
Here.
Alderwoman Peel, Chairwoman Boyd.
Thank you very much.
Chairwoman Boyd, I didn't hear you.
Here,
Thank you. For present, that form.
thank you. I'll leave the excuse of, I'm gonna say excuse of residents, excuse of all the people to the end of the meeting. And so approval of minutes.
I will make a motion that we approve the minutes of the January 26th meeting, 2022.
Can we get a second? Second.
There we go.
Good. Would you call the roll, please?
Alderman Vaccaro,
Aye.
Alderwoman Tyus, Alderwoman Martin, Alderman Todd,
Present.
Ms. Clerk, Chief Hayden said he's having problems signing on. It said that he can't be a panelist.
Okay, I'll switch them over as soon as I finish calling the roll.
All right, thank you.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard,
Aye.
Alderwoman Peel, Chairwoman Boyd.
Aye.
Chairwoman Boyd,
Aye.
3 aye votes and 1 voted present.
Okay. Next on our agenda, we're going to have discussion in regards to safety in the parks, public safety in our public parks. And so we are waiting on Chief Hayden to get on. I was trying to see.
Oh, he's here.
Oh, he's there. There he is. Okay, hey, Chief Hayden.
Smiling.
Good morning,
And so-
everyone. Sorry about that. I was having a little technical difficulties.
Oh, that's fine. I get it. We have Parks Department, we have Kim Hagley and we have Chief John Hayden. And so, Chief, we had 2 captains that were gonna come to speak in regards to how we can looking at presenting a plan to try to address the safety issues within the park. And
Yes,
so,
Yeah,
Captain,
Lieutenant Amy Parker Staten is trying to get on as well.
and then Christy Marks, oh, there's Christy, okay,
Looks like that,
Okay.
Alderman Ingrassi.
all right. So,
Let me try to reach her.
all right. So does anybody have any conversation to get us to start talking in regards? I know the 2 parks was Turner Park and what was that park? South
Square.
South St.
South
Louis Square.
South St. Louis Square. And Alderman Vaccaro has said something about Tilly's Park. So,
You know, what we did in Tilly's, we did the real-time crime cameras, and I was looking, I don't see Captain Marks, but you know, Chief, one of the things, just what I can recommend, because I'll go back to Captain O'Danny, which I'm sure you know, Bob, it's been a while, but a lot of, like in our case, Tillis Park is 3 blocks from the police substation. And one of the things Bob would have them do is drive through the park on their way back to the station. Don't just drive directly back. Drive through the neighborhoods and drive through the park. And I don't understand why they don't do that. I mean, they're in and out of the police station, you know, throughout the day, throughout the night. If they're going to make relief or they're heading back to the station, Bob used to have them drive through the park, and it wasn't going out of their way. It was just driving through the park instead of straight down Filer Avenue. I'm just throwing that out there, and I'm sure other departments have got to be close to parks. Just,
Sure.
It's just something old Danny used to do, and we never had a problem. And it seems like a practice that isn't there anymore. And, you know, so I'm just throwing it out there, but I am going to mute myself. I'm sorry, Madam Chair. I didn't mean to jump in.
That, Alderman, that's an excellent idea, and it's not too much to ask. We can certainly emphasize that, a lot of the parks, but we can certainly emphasize to driving through the parks or paying particular attention to the parks with the area car. That's not too much to ask.
Yeah, they don't even, I mean, they're going back to the station. I mean, it's not like, rather than drive back, you know, if they're not on a call, drive through the park on their way heading back. It's a real good deterrent. It doesn't, you know, they're going back to the station anyway. It's not like, you know, it's out of their way. Anyway, Madam Chair, I'll yield back. I'm sorry.
And I think it goes back to Chief, where it's the visibility of the police department. And so the question that I had asked when we did the tour was what role does the park rangers have and what authority do they have? And so it was explained to me, they technically have no authority in the parks. You know, they really just patrol the parks and they notify their supervisor if it's issues. But as far as locking people up, detaining people, that stuff is my understanding, they don't have that. And so I just think we're kind of putting the park rangers, and the way the society has changed, we might need to look at, one, how the police department and park rangers can partner better and see how we can work, you know, out a better routine. As Alderman Bakari said, you know, they can partner in regards to patrolling, kind of tag team with each other, because everybody is saying the same thing. We don't have the staffing that we need to do what we need to do. But sometimes we have to look at things and work smarter with less people we have, because it's realistically, we don't have the numbers of staff that we need to support the parks or the streets as a whole. So that's why I called you all in, for you all to kind of give us some kind of idea on how do you look at how we can improve. Because I know from my part, I immediately jumped on it and I started working with Kim, and then the park rangers, the person over park rangers, who was very kind and immediately started working to help us address the issue in Greg Carter Park. And so what was so interesting, well, the cat had already got out. So they didn't see the issues going on. But I think my frustration was the neighbors that was around that park, they heard the noise. They just didn't say anything. And that aggravates me. So now we have to spend money out of our ward capital to try to make our parks more secure. And with Kim's help, she helped me to make the park safer in other ways. So I just think that, you know, we have to work smarter, but we have to start working together to make things happen. So that's where I'm at.
Yes, ma'am. So Lieutenant Amy Parker Staten is on, and she's the commander over the park rangers. And certainly, you're right. We have to be very efficient with our usage of our park rangers. We certainly are focused on the ones that are, you know, hey, some parks are, you know, the people that attend and go to the parks are, you know, some of them have a different workload. There's some that require a lot more attention than others. I think that's what Amy would tell you. But and Donnell, I know you and Christy are joining as well. But hey, what basically, Alderwoman, we utilize information from the alderpersons as well as people in the neighborhood associations to decide kind of the workload of many of the park rangers. And so again, some of the parks are just more demanding than others. Some of the parks, the attendees do not require a lot of police attention anyway, and then some of them seem to require more just because of the activity that occurs there. Amy, you want to chime in?
Yes, so that is correct. Working with you, Alderman Boyd, and some of the other aldermen that contact me as well as the district captains. We work with them to get a list of parks that are problems at the time, and then we address them as they come in. We have a list of maybe about 15 parks that we do go to 3 times a day that were identified as problems that didn't go away. But once we do get an email or anything, we'll hit that park hard with the staffing that we have for about 2 weeks to try to rectify the problem. I'll notify the district captain to assist. They'll contact either Mobile Reserve or some other agency within the department if it's drugs or different things that's going on, and we'll try to resolve that problem. To my knowledge, that method has been working. No one has contacted me and told me anything different, and usually I'll check in to see if there's any more problems before we take the park off the list and go to and add another park.
So could I ask you, Amy, do you all have South Square Park and Turner Park on that list?
Let me look real quick. 1 second.
Turner Park being right by Sumner, right, Alderwoman?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Turner Park is not by Sumner, it's near, it's on Sarah, it's on Sarah Street and between Westbell and Finney, Sarah and Whittier. So it's closer to Cole Elementary and
Yes, sir.
and also Stevens Middle School. So that's where it's located.
Yes, sir.
So
And
no,
so-
we don't have Turner Park on the list.
Okay, so do you have South Square Park on the list?
No.
Okay, and so those are the 2 parks that all the people had brought up at our Parks Committee meeting, because we're trying to figure out what the issues, and ironically, Amy, when we went over to South Square Park, we actually witnessed some of that activity while we were there.
Okay, and what was the activity at those 2 parks?
And so it's the drug activity, and Alderwoman Sarah Martin Ward was saying that it's prostitution, it's drug activity, it's selling and using of drugs. And I want to say in her part, they had ODs in the bathroom. And Kim might could speak more on it, but I want to say that part was interesting because it was a guy that was walking around watching us because he was trying to figure out what was going on. And Sarah said that, Alderwoman Martin said that he was one of the culprits that's in that park. So I do know, and I'm asking people, Alderman Todd and Alderwoman Martin, I didn't see it in her part. One thing I found out, and Kim kind of helped me when they did a survey of our part, what we needed to look at to start deterring people from coming in. And so what I did was I put lights all around the park. And then we came back and we put bright lights up under where the where that concession stand is. So we tried to light the park up as much as possible to deter people, because you know where rats are. Rats go where it's dark. They don't go where it's light. So we try to make sure we deter them as much as possible. So Alderman Todd, you're on here because Alderman Martin is in Jefferson City and she's stuck with this weather. Alderman Todd, do you know if you have lights up in your park?
We do not have sufficient lights. Let me first say this, and I'll be just a second. I was at a meeting with some officer supervisors in my ward last week, and I'm going to paraphrase what they said. First of all, we must fill the space with the people who have problems, because these are not. Let me first get some background. We had the captain of who's the captain over the area that Turner Park is located in the rest of our parks. He actually made, according to the resident who live on that block and works with me, he made he had his officers locked up some people selling drugs. So we not only have observed what we suspected were drugs, but we actually have documentation, and I've had several witnesses at that point say they've seen people passing what appears to be drugs. And again, and then in the park, it appears, according to the resident, that sex is being, people are exchanging money for sex in the bathroom. And also, the solution, again, the officer, captain did find a solution. He put down some, I think there were cameras for 2 or 3 days and there was no activity. So cameras do work. Lights do work. Also, I would like to look into the real crime scene and invest in that. At the same time, we need permanent solutions, which is activities in all 110 of our parks. And we need the police to help us, and every citizen, the police and everybody else to help advocate, and the elected officials. All of us need to do the best practice that will be permanent. Cameras are good, but we need to use every tool in our toolbox. The best solution would be, one of the best solutions I can think of is what the officer said at the meeting we had in our ward. Let's fill that space with activities. Let's do the best practice, in both health-wise as well as saving taxpayers money and safety, which is to have supervised activities morning, noon, and evening. And we can, and also if there are crimes being committed, the supervisors themselves should be directed to call the police. And so, I've had the experience of being a kid growing up and being very active in the parks under supervision. I know it works. When they closed down the parks, that's when we had our biggest problems. And so we need to invest in people. We only have another example, and this is that, so then we would have, we need to spend money and pay the rangers the same way we pay our police officers. We need to pay the park supervisors the same way we pay our supervisors, and we need supplies, equipment, and we need to invest in our centers, not only Turner Park, but we have centers. We need to upgrade everything, like we upgrade our phones, many of us. We need to upgrade our centers. We need new furnaces. We need new windows. We need repairs. We need those type of things. Our solution alone, we have our police officers' job is to do what they were hired to do, which is to serve and protect, which is to, if they suspect a crime has been committed, they take the professional action that they were trained to take.
Alderman Todd, I agree with you. And I know it's a long list of things that we need to address, but this elephant can only be eaten one piece at a time. And so right now, I'm asking for some kind of direction from the police department and the parks rangers to work together. I agree, we need programs. Everybody's clear about that. And so that's when we bring in Evelyn Rice Peoples to start bringing in those kind of things that's going into the parks. But I think that a lot of times we have to be proactive to start addressing stuff like it is. And so, like you said, that the captain, they made an arrest because they went aggressively to start addressing it. And so we have to send messages in our communities, north, south, east, or west. This is not okay for us. And so, in the perfect example, in Greg Carter's Park, when we started utilizing that park, they were using the ball field for a car repair shop. They had prostitutions in the fountain, taking baths. They had sex on the benches. And so you're right, we had to bring programs in to start doing things. but it took a community effort. And I'm not saying it's just about the police, it's not about the park rangers, but it's about a whole wraparound of services to address the parks. So I agree with you, but that's why I asked, had you start putting stuff in your park to kind of start deterring some of that until we get to phase 2. That's why I was asking the question.
Yes,
Yes.
the only thing I've done, I haven't put anything as far as cameras, which I'm going to work on as far as the park rangers. I've made requests because we've been at meetings and requested some patrolling. But I can't emphasize enough that moving I would give you an example of drugs being sold in the 18th ward, because I grew up here. I don't deal with drugs. I don't mess with them. I've never messed with them. But I know I taught school. I ran programs for the last 50 years. I've been involved all my life in this ward. I know it better than anybody else. I know even all the drugs. I know who's about the area. But the point is, in the area I've had drug open market, air markets moved around in this part in the 18th ward at least 5 times, and I know exactly when they start, where they start, and where they are now. What is the point? It's a waste of taxpayers' money constantly dealing with moving the same problem from one part of the 18th ward to another. We need to come up with real solutions. We need to start advocating, but we need to do both. Move the problem around because the people are requesting it. But at the same time, we need to start talking about and doing something about the best practices and educating the community.
So Alderman Todd, what we can do is we can bring Evan Rice Peoples in to start talking to them about that. And so I just wanted to know, have you got cameras or lights in your park? That's all.
And I need to find out right away how to get cameras and lights. And
Okay.
also, I can't emphasize that activities. I'm gonna continue as long as I can.
So Jesse, so Kim will work with you with the lights and the cameras. She can talk to you about that. We'll bring Evan Rice people to talk about the activities to bring into the parks.
And also, last thing is some food, because school will be out as a retired school teacher. I couldn't in good conscience. I want the parks to start working in the school system and the and the elected officials, all of us start working on making sure these kids eat year round. When school is out, I don't want them hungry.
The Parks Committee has a program like that. That's why we'll bring Evan Rice people in.
Right, and that's what I want her to do. I want her to do that and make sure these kids eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner, so that they can help and increase our test scores and be
so what I'll do is I'll get with you, Jesse, so we can put a plan together. But in the meantime, I still need something with the police and the park rangers on how they're going to partner to address these issues.
Yes, ma'am.
Right.
Okay.
Madam Chairman.
Yes,
ma'am. I think the best way to do this is us to fund, because we'll glean information from attending the neighborhood meetings, and you did invite Captain Marks and Captain Donnell Moore on the line as well, and we got Lieutenant Parker Staten on as well. So the coordinated way we can do this is for the alderpersons to reach out to the captains, and then the captains can regularly meet with Lieutenant Parker Staten about parks. Again, we said from the beginning that we all 113 parks naturally can't be addressed at the same time, but they also don't have the same demand.
right.
And so what we can do is funnel a lot of our information can come from the alderpersons to the district captains. The district captain can meet with, and we can call them a meeting, Amy, as early as in this week, first part of next week, for Lieutenant Parker Staten to meet with all 6 captains and talk about which parks are the priorities.
Right.
And that way she can have the rangers place at those parks, and we can also have the officers adjust their patrol plan to assist that as well. So that's the coordinated effort between the rangers and the police officers. That's the easy part. But again, we realize that ebbs, certain parts ebb and flow. Alderman Todd mentioned Turner Park. Sometimes Turner Park is hot with activity. So a lot of times they have a lot of very good activity going on over there with no disruption. Donnell, can you or Christy, Alderwoman Boyd mentioned South Square Park? I don't know which one of you have that, but can you speak a little bit about the activity that you've seen at South Square Park?
Yes, sir. Are you
Go
able
right
to hear
ahead.
me?
Go right ahead.
Okay. A couple of things, as far as Square Park, okay, that is located in District 1, and several resources I've already utilized in that park, and one being the portal. That is a database that I use daily to track the crime within my district. And currently, Square Park, for the last 180 days, has not had any incidents. Well, let me back up a little bit. Year to date has only had 4 incidents. So in those 4 incidents, 2 were mental health, which officers responded to. 1 was a drug call, and 1 was a flourishing. Now, other than that, when I took a look at the radius around Square Park, there are incidents, but those are occurring within residencies. Now, for the park itself, again, there hasn't been any activity, and I'm going to leave that to the fact that these are the things I'm also using. When my Sky Cop is in my possession, the Sky Cop was down there monitoring that park all summer long. I mean, to the extent that a gang that was trying to start up in my park was 100% shut down by the Sky Cop being present 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and then my street team, which is a team of 6 officers, and they were tasked with shutting that park down, all drug activity, all gun activity, to the point where children and families were able to play in that park all summer long. Next, park rangers. When I requested the park rangers, they responded without an issue. Lieutenant Parker did that for me. Another situation, when the neighbors told me that they felt drugs were being sold within the bathroom, I made a request to have the bathroom shut down temporarily, okay, to push those individuals to the street, into the light, so my street team could effect an arrest on them. Next, the businesses within the area. Again, Square Park is surrounded on Broadway by bars. Both bar owners have been very good, and the liquor store that's right there next to the park have been very good about coming out, sweeping up, picking up trash, and also calling and alerting officers when they themselves have observed any type of loitering and drug activity. So I would say my community partners down there have been very helpful to me. As far as Square Park, again, any place is always going to have a cycle of people coming and going and trying and testing to see if they can commit their unlawful activities. Again, based off of the data that I'm looking at on a daily basis, Square Park, yeah, it might be an eyesore on occasion, but it is not a problem to the level that other areas might be. Again, 160 days, and I have not had any crime in Square Park. Not saying that, hey, someone's not going to run in there at some point in time throughout the day, the night, and try to do some activity. But the bottom line is when my business partners, my community partners call, my officers respond.
So this is my question. Do you think, I'm sorry to interrupt you, because you was on a roll, and I knew you was, and I hate people to do that when I'm on a roll. But do you think, is this from the safety perspective and the park, is it something that we can look at as the Parks Committee, what we need to do with that park to kind of help? Because it seems that you have something that I think is exciting. You have the business and the community support, and then you have the police outreach. So I see the partnership there. So is it something from the safety perspective that you think needs to be done to add to what you all are doing?
To add to what I'm currently doing, not to be greedy, if I was able to double everything that I was already doing, that would make further impact. But if you want to use Square Park as a model, the things that helped right off the blocks was having the Sky Cop, which is, again, the surveillance cameras in the park. that immediately made a great impact. The park is already pretty well lit. So,
Okay.
so again, lighting. Next, the park has always been good about, and I give it to the park, to forestry. It's always trimmed, so we don't have a problem with bushes and the trees overhanging to give people really places to hide. Now, as far as officers, that is a whole nother story for probably another day.
Yeah.
Park rangers, they do come down and they visit the park upon my request. Again, my street team is always in the park. And again, these things, I don't want to call it hotspot policing of that, but again, it's just the visibility is there. And so again, as you're going to look at visibility can change depending on how many personnel we have.
Madam Chair, could I ask?
And also, ma'am, Alderwoman,
Uh-huh.
my
Uh-huh.
major's also sitting in on this meeting, Major Dace. He would like to also add something in real quick, if you don't mind.
Hey, Ms.
Okay.
Boyd, how you doing?
I'm fine. How you doing, Major Days?
Good. Another thing we're gonna be doing in these parks are doing roll calls from time to time. So that'll give us some visibility. Obviously, we can't do every roll call in that park, but we'll occasionally do roll calls in the park so we can get some visibility in that aspect too. So we'll continue to give it attention, especially when problems flare up.
So Major Days, do you think the weather, because it used to be crime deterred when it got cold, but I can't say that no more. And I always say, well, okay, we need to be proactive and prepare ourselves for the summer. And so do you think it's what was told to us earlier about the sky cops and stuff, when it started, the weather started breaking, if we had the sky cops, if you all could have the availability of those sky cops at that time when the weather breaks, you think that would help, or?
Oh yeah, no, I think that would really help, Ms. Boyd. That usually when we have those out, crime goes down in those areas.
Okay.
Most of those folks don't like eyes on them. So no, that'll really help, I think.
Madam Chair, could I ask something real quick?
Uh-huh. And I'm gonna let Kim go after you.
Okay, I just, because I do want to, before street starts, but I do want to ask the chief because, it takes, like, just to put real-time crime cameras in park takes about 2 years by the time they design, do, and do all the stuff. But I know they got the sky cams, the things you see, the portable real-time crime cameras, okay?
Yes, sir.
How many do you have? And I just wonder if we should, right now we have the money that we can buy equipment under the stimulus money that came in. Maybe we need to double or triple or quadruple the amount of those so that we can place them in parks, because that's an instant. I mean, you can put those things anywhere and they are going to the real-time crime camera instantly.
Yes, sir.
How
So
many
I
do we have now?
we have about 25 or so now, but the city is purchasing some more, Alderman. I know that was if it wasn't capital improvements, it was another funding source, because I had to speak on that. I can't remember if that was the Ways and Means, but we have talked about the fact that this is the first time that the city is actually going to purchase some sky cops or some mobile trailers, and I believe we're purchasing another 20 or so.
So we're gonna have roughly 50 of these things around?
Absolutely, it'll be closer to 50 or so.
So, and who's gonna determine how, I would think that they would be great deterrents in the parks.
Absolutely, and the alderpersons will absolutely have a lot of influence on where those are placed. In fact, the captains will be in contact with the alderpersons, and pretty much they will oftentimes be in agreement with what place is hot and what place would benefit from the camera the most. And each captain can have their, particularly when it's several locations, can have a rotation plan to cover all of them.
Okay, and the only other thing, because I may end up having to leave for parks eventually shortly, but not parks, but streets. But the other thing that I would agree with, and when you do bring in Evelyn, the best way to deter bad activity is to create good activity. we put basketball in Tillis Park. And I think that actually worked as a great deterrent because there's always people playing basketball of all, girls, guys, white, black, you can name it. That court's busy. We got a water thing in the park. It's busy. So the best way to deter, and that's for a subject for a different day. But I was just curious about if we, this is the time that we can, through ways and means or public safety or whatever, we can order more, the more of those, they're instant. Because if Alderman Todd starts today working with Kim to put real-time crime cameras in the parks, on an average, it's going to take 2 to 3 years. They have to design it. They have to find somebody. I'm just telling you what it took for me. And it's very expensive.
Yeah, it's expensive. So, yeah.
So anyway,
But I mean, it's just things that I just think it needs to, the parks have not been focused on a lot. And so it's just like anything else. When you neglect it, then people start straggling in. So I just think we can start putting stuff together as a package for a park to start help. Kim, you had something?
Yeah, so I just wanted to say, hit some highlights of some of the things that were mentioned. There are lights inside Turner Park, and there are Cobra heads around the outside of the park. One of the things that I would suggest to all the aldermen is when you have the opportunity at our ward capital meetings is to invest in that LED lighting. And if parks is your concentration, then, spend that ward capital on the switching over to the LED lights. The other thing that I wanted to piggyback on was the police department and the Rangers did a great job at St. Louis Place Park or Square Park, because we did have, I guess, a sting operation there, and we worked in partnership with them to not only close the bathrooms, but looking at trash and being in there ourselves as a presence. So I think that went fairly well. If it impacted like they say it did, and we're not getting, we're not going to stop all activity, but at least it looks like some of the really bad ongoing stuff has been taken care of. One of the things that I have a question is, and this comes up to me all the time, and what authority do the Rangers actually have? I mean, are they able to write tickets? Is it just more of a presence? What's their authority?
So the Rangers have authority in the parks and the recreation centers. They have the authority to write, which are parking tags. They do not have the authorization for summonses anymore since city control, or MUX, which is the stop sign and the traffic violations. They do not have that authority. So all they can enforce the ordinance in the parks and the recreation centers. If those summonses need to be issued, we have to call the police. They have the authority to also detain, place in cuffs, use any necessary force if necessary, and then call the police to complete the report.
Okay, thank you. And I want to say thank you too to Lieutenant Staton, because anytime that I get a request, aldermen sometimes feed those concerns through me. The more detail that you can give us on when the activity is happening, where in the park it's happening, those are questions that I get asked when I report things to the park rangers. So, but every time I've asked, Lieutenant Staton's always been responsive. So I want to thank her for that because I think that goes a long way. I've gotten calls back from people that said, hey, somebody actually came out. So I think that does a lot to boost the confidence of the community.
And in defense of Lieutenant Staton, because I still look at myself as a newbie, and I didn't know when they broke into our park and stole all the pipes, I didn't know who to call. Was the first thing you do? I didn't know. And Lieutenant Staton literally walked me through the whole process. And then she called me every couple of days and gave me an updated report. So I appreciate that, but I just feel like with us having 110, 113, however many, 100 is too many for the staff that they have to try to cover that. And that's why I wanted to have this meeting for us to come up with a partnership to say, okay, what can we do to assist both areas in regards to that? Alderman Vaccaro.
I just wanted to let Kim know, under the last stimulus package we just passed the other day at the Board of Aldermen, all the city lights will be converted to LED lights. So each alderman doesn't have to now ask to pay. All the lights, in fact, some of the people are going, wait a minute, do I get my money back for the ones that I did? But all of the city lights, because of crime, because of power savings, all of them under this last package, or every light's going to be LED in the city. And it should be, I guess, as soon as I can get them, I guess. But
Does that include the parks?
they said all the city
Okay.
lights. And I will double, I know mine are already LED in the two parks because we did it. But at the, we put the money in and all the lights, and I assume city lights are in the parks. All the lights that the city operates will now be, are gonna all be updated to LED lights, and each alderman does not have to ask to do that. In fact, some of these things in the parks, Kim, if we think a little bit outside the box, as the aldermen start to do the next part of that money, because it's going in another phase, one of the things that money can be used for is crime deterrent, crime, things. That's why the different things, maybe we need to think outside the box, and maybe we can do more real-time crime cameras in the park using some of that money. If, I think try to think outside the box on how we can use that money, to deter crime, because that money can be used for that stuff. And real-time crime cameras would be one of the things that would certainly fit under that, deterrent. Now, you might get an argument from some aldermen saying that's too much Big Brother, but I'm just saying you might want to think outside the box on how that money, that next phase of money is used.
Okay. So did anybody else have anything? I think this was a good conversation. And so we kind of opened doors for people to understand more that even though we're looking at lights and we're looking at cameras, that's not the only things that we need to make sure to ensure that my thing is, I tell Kim all the time, my park is Forest Park in my ward. And so I just think that people have to look at their parks in a different light, as Alderman Vaccaro said, and it's not like it used to be. So my goal is to make people want to come to our park. And so we have the basketball courts, we have people playing baseball, we have people barbecuing in the park, and we don't have the issues in the park. It's just them crazies with the pipes. But besides that, we have never had an issue in that park. It's always been pretty calm and cool after we got it cleaned up. But as, I don't know what happened to that officer, but as he said, Chief Hayden's guy, what Christy and them said, it was a partnership with the businesses, the community, and the police and the park rangers. So it was a whole partnership. It wasn't just the police going in there yeah, they supposed to protect and serve, but the businesses have to play a role and the residents have to play a role. So it's a partnership. It's no solo act. We can't do that anymore. It's no more solo acts. So from the Parks Committee, probably when session starts back up, we'll bring in, if I'm the Parks Chair, you know, I'm just trying to see if I would be still here. But if I'm the Parks Chair, then we'll look at Evelyn Rice Peoples coming in to talk to us and say what programs can go to what parks so we can start having activities within those parks. And then we'll start looking as a partnership with the businesses and the safety to make sure that the police and park rangers work together to try to make sure that we make our parks more inviting. Because, you know, Forest Park is what it is, but people in our area, they don't really go to Forest Park. They utilize the parks that we have. And so I want it to be as inviting as possible to our communities, for them to have, you know, family reunions and be able to do things within that park in a safe environment. So did anybody, Alderman Todd?
I want to make this very clear that when I campaigned, this is what I'm representing my constituents, and I'm advocating what I campaigned on and won on. Again, I campaigned on, as Alderman from the 23rd Ward said, replacing negative activities with positive activities because they can't hold the same space. I campaigned on having and won on having activities in the park with supervision supplies. And so and each alderwoman and man are the only ones that are paid out of the city budget that were elected to represent their constituents. If one alderperson feels that they place the police officers who monitor the crime scene with supervisors. So I'm saying I would rather have, so I'm saying we should have that choice for our constituents, because this is city money, this is taxpayers' money that we are talking about. And I'm the representative in my ward. I don't go in other wards telling all the people if how they should represent their constituents. But at the same time, the police officers and none of the other departments are not elected. They work for the taxpayers the same as I do. And I also answer to the taxpayers, because I ran on the platform, I would be accountable. I think every person who gets taxpayers money should be accountable. And at the end of the day, again, that's what my constituents, that's the platform I ran on.
You froze up, Alderman Todd. Captain Christy Morse, did you have anything?
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Uh-huh.
I just think it's really important that for the alderpersons in each of these wards to really reach out to their captains and discuss the crime that is going on in the parks, because captains, you know, even though we're all short staffed, like I have to manage and give manpower to Forest Park, and I don't get any extra manpower to do that. So I really have to look at my manpower, find out ways that I can add patrols to Forest Park and my other plethora of parks in my district. And so, you know, working with your captains, we can sometimes, you know, pull officers off, especially if we have events or we know the times the parks are most crowded. I pay a lot of overtime to patrol Forest Park and my other parks. And you know, that's part of my budget that I can use. And I just think having those communications with your captain, we have resources that are available. And I know it's overtime, but it's part of my budget. And I really do use most of my patrol for my parks out of my overtime budget. And it's been very successful. And I know when I was up in the 6th, we did that in O'Fallon Park. And we had a detail, you know, on many of the weekends, and it really cut the crime down in half. And I do the same thing with Forest Park. And that's how we have managed to get it down. I know myself and Lieutenant Amy Parker Staten have a great relationship, And we know, we share information. We know when there's events in the park, we, put more staffing out there. And unfortunately, it's on overtime, but it's successful. So I would just encourage all the alderpersons to work these out with your captains and try to come up with a plan.
Well, you talking to the choir with me, so I already know all that. So does anybody have anything else? Alderwoman Evans, did you have anything? You're on mute. There you go.
Yeah, I was trying to unmute myself. No, the information has been very informative this morning, and I've learned a lot. I've learned some things that I can do to use in my situation. So not at this time.
Who's your captain, Alderwoman Evans?
I'm not sure.
Okay, so probably Chief, she probably needs to find out who her captain is.
Yes, Mueller, Captain Mueller's her captain.
Captain Mueller.
Mueller?
Yes, ma'am.
So
I'll
that's
send you,
probably-
Alderwoman, I'll send you his contact. If you don't have it or haven't spoken with him in a while, I'll send you his contact information as soon as we get off the phone. As soon as we get off the
Thank you.
call. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so
Okay.
that'll help you out, Alderwoman Evans.
Thank
And-
you.
And Lieutenant Staten, don't forget her, because she will help you if you have issues. And so just FYI.
He knows me.
At first, we kind of started off rocky, and then I figured it out. Oh, okay. And I said, well, I don't even know what's going on. And she like, okay, let me explain to you how this works. And so once she explained it, then I was okay. So I appreciate what she did to help me. And Christy shouldn't be over where she at. I'm just telling y'all, because she should be over in North Patrol. But anyway, we're going to leave that one alone. But on that note, does anybody have anything else? Okay, well, thank everybody for commenting, giving your input. It seems like we have a plan that we're going to put together, and we're going to look at the whole package on how to address the park issues in regards to safety and in regards to activities to help encourage people to deter the negative and bring the positive into our parks. So on that note, we're going to ask to close. Does anybody can get a motion to close?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you all very much.